All right, let's get started. We're ready to go. Let's talk about the bookmobile. We need to do something with the bookmobile.
Sounds like this, looks like the citizens are up in arms about it.
Well, if you don't want, we have to do something. No movement is bad movement. It's not, right?
I agree.
Either tell me not to sign up for it, or let's go and at least go another year at this rate. It's gonna cost us $2,100 or whatever, $2,600, $28.
28, I think.
For a year. I mean, there are other alternatives we kind of discussed, different ways of doing it, providing the service to the residents. But
I think.
we're done. I mean, I think that the bookmobile showed up the last time, is that right? Or that this next time's last?
This next time is the last time.
They want to get the
They're gonna
books
ask
back.
for the books back.
Yeah.
Tomorrow.
But if we
Tomorrow.
pay.
Is tomorrow the
them-
bookmobile day?
Is it tomorrow or next week?
Tomorrow's the third, when?
But if we decide to subscribe, pay our subscriber fee, then they'll be for another year.
It'll be another year, one
So-
stop for half an hour, is that what it is, or an hour?
An hour.
An hour
It's
stop.
an
A
hour.
half hour wouldn't hardly.
Right, an hour stop, once a month.
Twice a month.
Well, I think if
No,
we,
twice.
It's either
I
that or
think-
build a library.
if we're gonna do it,
Yeah.
I think we need to make an even bigger push and let's get more utilization out of it so that if down the road the cost increases, it'll be easier to.
I think.
I mean, eventually, I'd like
Yes.
to have people be able to actually sign up and we just subsidize it
Yeah.
and put it on their utility bill, something like that.
And maybe that's what, we don't have enough time to do that now.
We don't have
but if
enough time
I-
for that now. That's why I put on here, let's do something now, to buy us some time, but we need some
And
long
let's
range.
put it in the newsletter that, explain the situation. That the bookmobile, free, has it been free to this point?
This time around.
Yeah.
Yeah,
When we discontinued it, they were charging for it and then they went away and then they
And they
decided
came back
to
again.
come back in.
So, let's just explain the newsletter. I think that we currently have 85 subscribers to the bookmobile. We have had good utility. We have to make a decision whether we're going to maintain that or not. We have decided if we get enough users there, that we will pay it for this year, but we need all the people that can utilize it to utilize it.
so are you comfortable making one out of every 12 people satisfied with this decision? I suspect you're gonna get 50% of the people probably don't care,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
10% of the people will want it, and 40% of the people would be mad that we spent the money.
Yeah,
Pretty much how it
that's
works.
probably about right.
Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
And
This is-
still spending the money
Yeah,
for the 10%?
yeah.
So what if, like,
And
what if
put
we,
it-
what if we subsidized it on their bill? Like, we'll subsidize part and, I mean, you pay $2 a month on your city bill. That'd be like $24 towards the bookmobile. But how much is like Salem or Spanish Fork?
Spanish Fork's $100 a year.
Spanish Fork, $100 a year.
To get a bookmobile card or a
library card.
Full
Then you
blown,
gotta-
that's the full blown
Yeah.
library though.
Then you gotta drive in, well,
Full
this
blown
is,
Salem library, or Spanish,
Yeah.
Spanish?
Spanish Fork is $100 a year.
So $24, but that would subsidize more than half. But
So
if,
are you gonna
but then I was
say,
gonna say if people knew they could sign up, I don't know.
are you thinking that people that wanna use it could come in and get a library card from us and pay
And you just charge
well,
$7
why
a
don't we
month.
do this?
$24 a year?
Can we
Card?
just tell,
How do we control the library cards though, because they get those from the bookmobile?
That's
We'd
what I
have
was
to work
wondering.
out something with
Are
the
they-
bookmobile.
Right,
Or the bookmobile would have to give them a thing of like, when you sign up at Elkridge City, you sign this little thing that says you're allowing the city to charge you $2.
Either they get charged $2 a month, or they come in the office and pay it.
you know what?
Maybe you say to the
$2 a
bookmobile-
month is, that's extra work every month. If they want a card, have them come in and pay a one-time fee.
That's what I would do.
Okay.
$24 a
What you
month
could
for
say
a
to the
year.
bookmobile is do not allow them to get a card unless they have like something from Royce saying, a little paper that says they've been authorized. You know what I mean?
You've had conversations with
Yeah.
both.
Have they not done this before? I mean, don't they have a procedure for
I
something?
don't even know how it works.
No, because No,
Yeah, 'cause it
because
was
they've
paid
not,
for by,
yeah, it's not been supplemented before.
Yeah.
But I'm
Free
sure we
service.
could get them to agree,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
if they just brought in a receipt or whatever.
Well, we actually gonna have time to put this whole thing in place. I mean, even if we gave them $2,800 to keep it going, who's gonna spend the time to get all this worked out and before the bookmobile comes, not this next time, but the following time when it becomes effective?
Can't we just say it's a $25 fee, not 24, and just, and then those that already have the card, do you renew it every year? Like Spanish Fork, you have to,
Not with the bookmobile, you don't.
See, if they had this already in process, it'd be a no-brainer.
Yeah.
All they need is the list from the city of who can and can't, right? And they'll give them a card
Mhm.
if they don't already have it. But they may not have anything in place.
Well,
Do-
I'm gonna put it this way, if we'd had to pay for it when they offered it to us again, my vote at that point in time would have been no.
So let me ask you this, do we have,
Well, let's
can
see.
we opt in at any time?
Probably,
My guess is probably.
yeah, I don't know why we couldn't.
So
Let's wait.
if we just let it lapse and work on something until we get it figured out, and
Yeah.
then we could pay the money.
I just tell them to keep our day open if they can.
Well, it'll be open.
Well, it might get changed or something.
Right?
Yeah.
It's not, I mean, it's not the end of the world. In a way, you know, 40% of the people probably aren't happy that we pay for it out of the general fund.
Yep.
So,
And
I don't
Is
think
it-
there's a rush on
I
this.
think it's still good to put a note in the town, in the flyer.
is there a way that
Newsletter.
Well, I think I'd like to have it worked out by the time we have the flyer and just say, if you're interested in a library card,
please
your bookmobile card, just come down and get your $25 in
Mhm. And just have
And
everyone.
see how many
Go
we
over
got
there.
sign up,
so, I think that would,
then we'd still have to pay
Right.
that 28 though to get a contract with it probably.
yeah, we would.
So it's
They would only do it a year.
I'm
2,800.
surprised the county hasn't come up with a way to just charge per,
Per
it's not really a
person.
rental, I don't know what you call it, check it out.
Okay.
So
See,
so,
so non-residents can get a Salem library card for $25.
They can.
to the Salem Library?
Why is Spanish Fork so much more?
It's just what they decide to charge.
Bigger library.
See, so if that's the case, I
They're a
don't
little
know,
bigger, too.
I know what
Why
I mean.
worry about it?
Yeah.
Why go through all the hassle?
And make them pay $25. But, I mean, the thing is, the bookmobile comes here, but they can go to the Salem
They're-
Library anytime.
Maybe we
Instead
can
of-
put that
instead
as
of-
a
Instead
window.
instead of this 1 hour window
Not only that,
every other
they're in
week.
Salem anyway.
That's what I'm saying, to drive to go
It's
to.
not like you're gonna go out of your way to get to Salem.
Yeah.
Let's put that
You gotta
note
go
in the
through it
newsletter.
someplace in the
That
city.
we're
Yeah,
Is Payson the same
discontinuing
price or is
bookmobile,
Payson
but
more?
you can
But
get a library card
I
in
think maybe
Spanish
we
Fork
should
for
just talk to the cities
Salem
and see if
25.
we can work out a deal. Is SCSD still trying to do
Yeah, we're
something?
still working on
Well-
something there, so that may change anyways.
Is it Dominion then?
Huh? No,
All right.
no, that's the gas company.
That's-
Because 2,800 would pay for 112 library cards
Yeah,
at Salem.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
I mean, that's,
And it
for,
would be better
for that
anyway.
cost.
yep.
That's what I'm saying, if we could work out something with the library, we may be able to, like, even if we subsidized the
You
library
could
card
subsidize
at-
Salem,
at
Salem,
$10 and the
Salem
residents
library
pay
card.
$15,
right?
right? And instead of paying $2,800, I mean, you could put 280 families at Salem for the same cost as the bookmobile coming here.
Right.
And if they had that many more people coming and utilizing their library, they could probably get more books
Yeah.
with that additional revenue, so.
I don't know, I mean, I love
That's
the
a great,
bookmobile, but
that's a great idea though.
I think there's other ways that we can make the amount, right, that
Yeah.
cost more beneficial.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I agree with that.
This will probably
Okay.
change.
See, if we ever did a civic center, we could also have like a
No library room.
library.
library room where people just drop off books, take one, leave one, you know what I mean, one of those.
Yeah.
I've been talking to them.
Okay, let's talk about sewer.
So Payson's $40 a year, I just look at,
Oh,
and
they
you
are?
can do, and you can do a 6 months at a time. if
So
you
we
want,
talked to
so-
both of them and said, what kind of a arrangement can we make? We want to subsidize our residents, right?
Mhm.
So, and, you know,
Yeah, but I think we
Yeah.
could talk to them and,
see if they're willing to
That's the key, to talk to people.
do a deal with it.
yeah.
Let us use their library.
Mhm. I think that's the way we should go, because I think it would be
That sound
cheaper.
okay? Yes, that's great.
Did you have a comment on the bookmobile, Jim?
Just the math, the numbers you're giving, I already figured out, it's costing $30 a year, roughly $30 a year per person using it.
Yeah,
So the numbers are-
yeah, yeah, it's not very, it's kind of expensive when you consider, I mean, it's nice that it comes here,
Yeah.
yes, right? That's a convenience factor.
Mhm.
All right, let's do the rundown on the sewer dealy whopper here. So, Payson's increase is 97 cents per connection. We just got a raise from Salem's connection fees now are $4.
Higher, 28,
$4.28.
no, $28 now, or it were 24 last month.
Right,
So they went up
28 per connection.
Or
Right.
say,
So they're still lower than Payson's quite a bit.
yeah,
Yes.
because Payson's what?
39 something.
Or, yeah.
It's on
Because
that.
once
Yeah.
Payson raised theirs by 15, we just raised theirs by that much as well.
So,
Because we knew it was gonna happen from Salem, we just didn't know when.
yeah, so Curtis took his number, ran a couple of numbers with it to find out
So, hold on.
operating costs.
Can I just, everybody
Operating.
in our city pays the same sewer rate regardless
Yes.
if they're hooked up to Salem or Payson?
Mhm.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Okay,
So right now, if we don't do anything, in fact, we'll go
in the hole.
in the hole, but, given the numbers that we have, if we did a 2.5% increase, which is what Payson was, right? If we just did that same kind of an increase, that'd be $1.30 increase to the residents, and that would be a 7%, or 0.7% rate of return on that for our operating revenue, right? And
So we're not at the
they want it to
4%
be
mark.
between 2 and
2 and
4,
4, yeah.
right? If you do a 5% increase at $2.60 a month, you'd be 1.64. If you did a 10% rate increase, that's $5.20 to get up to 3.5. And I suspect that every year, you're gonna see Payson do a 2.5% increase.
Well,
You
we're-
can expect it because that's how they're giving the wage increases to their employees in that department. They're doing the same thing.
They're doing a
Electrical,
CPI
same-
increase.
They're doing a CPI on
Yeah.
everything across the board every year so that their employees pay
So,
more.
if you did, I mean, if you even went to the 260 range, and you went 1.64%, you're gonna deal with it next year. You're gonna do another raise.
Yeah, you got it. Actually, we haven't had a property tax increase for several years.
Sewer rate, you mean, sewer increase?
No, I mean, property tax.
Yes.
So, you know,
But
they
you
have
just
to,
whacked
Yeah,
it
we
with
just
a
have
board.
water rate,
With the water
sewer,
rate.
and.
Yeah.
Just whack the
Yes.
water with the water
That's
rate.
true.
Right.
It's still,
This is-
we didn't
it's
whack
a
them
fee,
yesterday.
but,
But-
you know,
but this-
it's
this
still
is-
an increased dollar.
This is an enterprise fund. It needs to operate like its
It does.
own business.
Like a business.
And as long as we need to make that business
Yeah,
basically revenue neutral in a sense. I mean, we've got to bring in enough to cover expenses, have some money set aside for future repairs,
Yep,
and that's what we need to do.
will the 3.5 do that?
3.5 does, 3.5, no, there's a 5, how much you wanna raise it?
5%.
$5.20?
Yeah,
That's a 10% increase, that's 3.5% rate, yeah.
yeah, you said 3.5.
Is that what we have to do to,
Well, that's to get
That's
to
where
the
he would,
high end.
that's where he would
That's
like to get, yeah, because you want to be between 2 and 5, 2 and 4.
So what do we have to do to get hit to?
To hit 2, so it looks like about a 6% or a 6% increase, it'd be about, probably about $3.
if we did the 10, could we go 2 years before raising it again? Even though they're
If you
gonna
did.
raise it?
If
He
you
found
did
a
10%,
3-year,
Oh, he
probably
thought,
about 3 years, we'd go about 3
Yeah.
years before we have
You'd be
to.
able to,
but if we only did the, like,
But-
6%, how long do you think we could go?
the 5% is 6%, you'd go about probably 1 year.
I would rather just do the 6% and then if Salem raises it by 2.5% next year, then we raise it by 2.5%.
So each year raising it?
And that's okay, I
Well,
mean,
yeah,
that
but
puts
if,
us,
but if we, but it's not just us raising it. I mean, it's easier, if you go to the residents, Payson raised our rates again, we're passing along to you.
We're not making anything on
I
it,
mean,
we're just
that's-
breaking even,
Yeah.
right?
well, we can't make anything on these.
Well, yeah.
Right.
No, we
No,
can't,
no, I know, but
Well,
I'm saying, we're not like
You-
putting
you
away a
can't.
ton of
We're not
money.
going there, we don't operate.
I think it's easier to just like, we didn't just decide to up your rates, like Payson upped them.
We just
We're
passed
Why-
on
why-
what we
passing
did
it
to
on.
us.
My biggest beef with this is the fact that we've got 2 billing cycles under our belt before we even get a chance
I know.
to catch up.
Yeah.
And that's
I
the
know.
part that bothers me. You know, I don't like the fact that we get to just basically, they increase it by a 7%, we
Salem
increase it
did
by
the same
that.
thing.
And,
They didn't call us and say, hey, guess what's coming?
They did a big chunks.
yeah,
You can call them, tell them.
I'm sure their residents are really thrilled.
What's coming, what's coming?
yeah, but their residents and their people, they've already got 2 months worth of billing under their belt at that higher rate.
Right.
We'd be in a lot more trouble if we hadn't raised everybody's.
That's why I
rates.
say, before our next bill goes out,
This has got to be,
we gotta have an answer. So
Yeah.
tonight's tonight. That's why it's on.
Okay.
and
Yeah,
I,
because we've already had 2 months go out and we've
Yeah.
been paying the higher rate.
I think if we do
the
this-
lower rate. so.
I'm comfortable
So-
with 6.
So, yeah, Curtis
Yeah, I
said 5% is probably realistic. 10% is prefer, and a great goal is 13%.
Yeah, but we don't wanna
Oh,
get.
Curtis,
well-
sorry.
Which is, well, what he does is he says, you raise that, then you don't have to raise them for a while. You can eat into that for a while,
Well,
Yeah, but
right? But
No, I would rather
I would
just,
rather
raise
not do that.
as
I would rather not for one particular reason, and that is one of the bonds that Payson is paying on their sewer plant
how's it?
will retire in 2020. And when that happens,
Just give
they're
them a
gonna,
raise.
they're not, well, not that big of a
You got a
raise.
whole nother council coming in, who
Oh,
knows
yeah.
what they're gonna do.
Well, I'm pretty sure they're not gonna get that big of an increase. I think if we get it a year or two, we'll probably be good, and there won't be a significant increase
yeah,
after that.
council's getting ousted, mayor's got ousted.
I would guess it would be right around a 6%
I'm
increase.
sure it's, I'm sure it's.
Okay.
gonna go the way it's-
I'd be fine with that.
Yeah.
So the question is, Royce, if we did 6% increase on that,
So.
how much would that, what would that be? It's 52 now?
Because we didn't make up the last 2 months, right?
What's a 52, 6% of 52?
6% of 52?
Mhm. Everybody got their calculator out?
I'm doing it right now.
52 times 0.6?
That's what it is.
0.06 actually.
3.12.
How much?
3.12, did I?
That's
do
what
that?
$3.12?
That's-
So it'd be 55.12, so if we could just round it to
Just
don't do it at
55?
12 cents.
I would rather round it down than round it
Yeah,
up.
just round it to 55,
55?
Yeah.
round it down,
So that's a $3 increase.
yeah. $36.
But, you know, we got an increase last year, we didn't raise the rate, we just absorbed it.
Which is why we're going in the hole.
I like that
We're
idea,
going
and it's
negative.
easy for us to keep these rates online because it's just the council vote.
Yep.
By resolution, right?
Mhm.
So that's a fair thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, I hate doing this, but it's like, we don't have another option when they say, we raised your rates.
Yeah.
I-
Well, and we've been running
Just
so
have to pass it
thin
on.
for so long too, in our own account,
Yeah,
right?
well, but yeah, so they're raising it 2.5 and we're raising it,
All right.
yeah.
Really, 0.5% is where we're at right now. That's really not keeping up.
That's flying by the seat.
That's just, and you know, it gets worse every time we add more to the sewer system, because then you have more assets.
More
then you have to have a-
depreciation and.
More depreciation that you have to cover, right? You know, you should have the housing to do it, to make that happen, but
Yeah. Well,
prices go up.
one of the things that future councils are gonna need to be prepared to do is there's a possibility if Salem builds their own facility and Payson builds their own, and their rating structures are so immensely different, that we may have 2 separate rates depending on which system you're hooked into.
It's possible.
Ugh,
I mean,
I hope
because
not.
it's possible. If
I hope
Salem
not for
wanted
the office's
to
sake.
create their own kingdom, it's gonna cost them a lot more than it will Payson.
Oh.
And as a result, somebody's gotta pay for it, so it'll be the users.
All right, number 3, roundabout discussion, the apron. Oh, so we went down to look at that that nice mud zone coming off the roundabout there, right? And we looked at it and thought to ourselves, what are we gonna
Talking about the
do?
west side,
Talking about the west side,
Yeah.
the
Right.
southwest side?
Southwest.
southwest side there. And we thought about putting in the concrete like we talked about, and how much concrete that would be, what, you know, and really, from my perspective, to do it right, you'd put it really needs to be a pretty good section, or you're gonna just expect to tear it out, right?
Yeah. Well, because the
Um,
concrete's currently all breaking,
It's chipping off.
chipping up, yeah.
Yeah, right. So with the new,
On the other
with the
ones?
new pavement,
On the
because we went down there and stood there and watched and looked at what's going on, tried to figure this out. With the new pavement that's in there now, and it raised that up, and the pronunciation of the apron is pretty much gone now, if you notice, right? There's just a smooth curve there, a smooth entry on there now. So, and trucks are now using that, I think, more. So I didn't know, I looked at it and I said, you know what, maybe the best thing for us to do is, let's dig out the dirt, let's put in a good road base, let's stake it about 2 feet from the current curb with some PVC stakes to define where that edge is. See what the traffic patterns are, because if we don't have a problem with the truck still going through there now that we've got that, and we delineate it a little bit, it's probably wiser for us to delay the expense of that to when we develop that area, right? And if the road base gets eat up, we're only into it $100. If the thing gets eat up, we can either throw some out and patch it in again, right? Or next year, if it looks like
Compacted for
this is
concrete.
no way this is gonna last, then we'll rip it out and put concrete in. But for the $100 or whatever it is for them to scrape out the mud and put in a good base of road base, I'm like, let's just do that and see what the pattern looks like.
Don't we have a bunch of ground?
And I think
asphalt?
that'll protect the chipping that's going on, right? Get that raised up a little bit, even above where that curbing is, right?
Well, don't we have some of
That'd be a
the
good
ground up
thing to
asphalt
try.
behind the Public Works building still? Or did they use all that up?
I don't think
I
so.
think that's gone, but that would have been
Yeah,
great
'cause I
too.
mean, you can take it just.
Anyway, that's kind of what,
That might be better than,
I said, let's,
you need road base, but some of that for a surface,
you know,
pickup load even.
well, they'll just go down and, I mean, there's quite a bit. It's a 70 feet by 10. So it's a pretty good size, it's a pretty good size chunk. When you get out there, I'm like, well, yeah, this is bigger than it looks. When
Well,
you're-
the other thing, that-
When you're walking it, yeah.
well, you pour concrete there, then you're gonna encourage people
To drive on.
to walk there too, where there isn't really anything beyond that.
How are you supposed to walk through the roundabout?
That's crosswalks.
There's really nothing to walk to on that side.
Yeah, on the
Yeah.
north side is where the crosswalks
So it
are.
kind of forces them over and around.
Yeah, because it has the, okay.
And it would, we'd have to do the concrete because it's small enough that nobody's gonna compare, nobody's gonna give you a good deal. Nobody, you know, there's not a concrete contractor that's,
Well, we
Top
had a
downtown.
price, didn't we? We had a price for 6 and an 8 foot apron.
Well, if they
There
were
was
coming out for
one was
another
like-
job,
Yeah, but we called him back and he says, yeah,
yeah.
this isn't big enough.
it's not
they'd
really
have to
big
be
enough.
coming up for something else, and we'd have to just
Yeah.
have them do ours real quick, but yeah.
So let's just
Okay.
fill it in with road base, compacted, I said, it's gotta be compacted, well done. And come in about, 18 to 24 inches and delineate it with some PVC stakes so that people know,
You get off of that, you're
To-
gonna really be in the soft shore.
yeah, to keep on the road, encourage them to keep on the road.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it happens. If
And
they run
see-
over the stakes and dig it all up, then next year we'll concrete it.
Hit it with your bus.
We'll see.
Are you guys even allowed through that roundabout? I thought the bus couldn't fit.
Busted.
Oh, it does?
All right, animal code amendment discussion. Nelson.
Tight. Not the way I-
Okay, so in our last council meeting, the mayor said if we weren't gonna vote on it,
Then you
we had to
change
come
it
back with
yourself.
something, had to change ourselves and come back, so that's what I did.
That was good stuff.
And I spent a lot of time working on it, and then today I got a call from planning commission chairman, and we talked some more. And he gave me a recommendation, and I kind of let it bounce around for a couple hours. And as I was coming home, I had the thought occur to me, what if because I ran quite a few different scenarios to try and figure out, what I was trying to do was make it so that people that already had animal rights didn't see a reduction. And the people that would see a reduction with the code changes that was presented are those who live on third acre up to 1 acre. If you got an acre or more, basically they've held them harmless. Less than a third of an acre, right now you've got nothing, so whatever we give you is gravy. So I went in, and if we adjust the points, if we take the points and cut them in half, and then we make the change on the pigeons to a 0.5, then we end up with nobody is gonna lose the options or the number of animals that they're allowed to have. What that does, it'll give you.
Okay, so hold it, so you say take all the point values and divide it by 2.
Divide them by 2, except for the pigeon, you cut that to 2.5.
Okay,
My
but on your
recommendation-
notes, you said,
Yes. Oh, that was if we were gonna take each of those and just assign points.
okay, so we're not going with
Jared
this anymore.
recommended, and
Okay.
when I talked with Jared, he recommended keeping it at 100, because then if somebody comes in and they've got 1 3/4 acres, they got 175 points. If they've got 1.5 acres, 150 or
I think
whatever.
it makes more sense that way too.
He said, let's keep this as simple as we
It's
can,
just-
so
yeah.
that anybody can read this.
Mhm.
So I give it some thought, and I've gone through and I think that's probably the best way to do it. That, and I think there was one other piece that I wanted to address, and I don't know if I communicated it.
You wanna cut everything in half?
Only on the non-livestock page.
So that means the cat is
Residential
only, that
without
means the
livestock.
cat is only 5
Okay,
points
but
instead
then-
of 10.
Yeah.
And
So
are
you
you
can
gonna,
have twice as many cats or twice as many dogs.
okay, so now, what about, cause you have 2 max here, is that gone now?
We can leave it, or we can
On
not.
which one?
On the
On
cats and dogs. The reason I put a max on there was to try and reduce the number of issues that the city has when it comes to animals. I mean, the area where you have the biggest number of complaints with animals,
Is my neighborhood?
well, we're not gonna talk about that. We've got cats and dogs, and then it's,
'Cause you're
and
not
then it's
supposed to have them.
chickens, because we've got people that don't have permits. And by taking the conditional use, and that goes away. But if you've got more than that, then you go through the right process. This doesn't affect people like the Rams who have, like 10 or something acres. I mean, they got a lot of ground. So
Yeah.
they came in and they got their conditional use so they can do their huskies. And the people that live on larger lots, that doesn't affect them. This is just on this one page.
Okay,
So
but,
so you don't end up with a neighbor who comes in and says, okay, well, I've got
well, that's what I'm worried about, I'm thinking
2.5
half.
dogs.
Well, if it's half, I mean, I could
Yeah,
have
but you're only
6
gonna
cats.
Yeah.
6. You could be the
That's
crazy
too
cat
many
lady.
cats. Yeah.
But
6 dogs? Isn't
See,
that,
I
that's
think
too small.
That's-
I know.
that's
very
why I
generous.
put-
I think
that's
think
why I
it's
did
too
the
generous.
max.
I think it's
is the way
too
to go.
generous too. if
Like,
you
I
put
think
this
it's
all
too
in half.
generous, because I don't think it's humane to have, if I had 6 dogs on my, have you seen how small my lot is? And that's
No.
not even humane.
But you don't have to. I mean, this is
Well,
my
I'm not going
recommendation.
to. Dog house.
No, I mean, that's my recommendation. If you want to keep the cats and dogs where they're at,
I'm leaning towards keeping them where they're at. What do you guys think?
That's the thing we most have problems with.
Is that what you have the most complaints
Yeah,
about?
the
Do you
dogs
think?
are-
Cats, dogs, chickens, you know.
Because you heard Shay say, we already have one of the most lenient animal codes around, like with these numbers, he was saying how this is so, I'm just saying, like, that's what Shay was saying, looking
Right.
at other ones, this is,
well, because we've introduced, you got pheasants, you got chuckers, you got quail. Those are things a lot of other cities do not even allow.
yeah.
And then you get into
And I don't
larger
know about-
lots, and we're talking goats and other things that a lot
So-
of other cities don't even.
So are you wanting to do quail 2.5 points?
Based on their
Can
size.
you even have quail as pets?
Yeah. You
I was gonna
can.
say, as long as it doesn't count against my,
You
well,
can.
that just live in my,
Right. Well, and that was
I got a whole herd of them running around now.
That was one of the points Jared brought up. He goes,
Wild.
when they held the public hearings, they had some lady that said, well, what are you gonna do about the Sky's pigeons that are hanging out in my pine tree? And he said, well, we went and checked it out, and they're Eurasian ringneck doves, and they're not pigeons. They don't belong to anybody, they're an
Yeah,
invasive
they're
species.
doves.
I mean,
Yeah.
so, I
Would it be
I tend
easier
to
to do
think-
like 3 or, I don't know, I'm just
No.
2.5? Okay.
I would just cut it.
I
in
don't
half.
think we should do rabbits lower. I don't think those should be 2.5.
Well, you start tweaking with all that, then everything that I had figured out completely goes out the window. For anybody that's got more than.
On the rabbits, if you just have one litter, you know, you've got,
Sure.
another
I mean,
4 or 5.
It's, the reality of it is, people that have rabbits either have one, or they've got a bunch, and if they've got a bunch, then they're gonna meet their quota of 35 if they've got a third acre, or 33, I guess.
On a
33.
acre, 33 rabbits?
No, 33 points, which would equate to
Oh.
like 12 rabbits, and that's it. That would be all they could have. And you can house 12 rabbits in an area about the size of this desk, humanely and legally,
Okay.
because the way the pens are designed. I mean, that's. I don't know anybody that has that many, other than the place out on Goose Nest where they run them.
Didn't we
In
originally,
a garage.
no roosters with that chicken?
Well, yeah, they're not allowed roosters unless they have the.
Yeah, unless you have livestock
Yeah, if you have
rights.
livestock rights. then
You can have, so the people down in the canyon out on Goose Nest, they can have them.
Oh,
Those are the
okay.
most annoying things.
Somebody down by you has one. When I figure out who it is,
Me?
I'm gonna go talk to him. No, down by Paul. I can hear it.
too. All I know is it's not so much.
So,
It's to be a lot
That's-
louder at my house.
based on what that's my recommendation. I don't know how else to put it. I spent time calculating it, trying to come up with a solution that I felt was workable.
I mean, I can budge on these, some of these others, but cats and dogs, I don't think we should really be dropping those numbers. a
Well,
lot.
I just dropped them just as a process because I was dropping all the others. I really didn't
So-
consider cats.
Cats roam and dogs bark and crap on people's neighborhoods.
Oh,
Yep.
man.
And
Yeah.
So,
chickens aren't so bad,
Pigeons,
pigeons are, you know what I mean? Everything else is
Yeah.
pretty much caged and
yeah,
controlled.
if it's caged and controlled, then you're keeping it on your
That's not
property.
the problem, it's cats and
Yeah.
dogs that are the issue.
Yeah.
So maybe
So-
keep
Chickens.
dogs and
becoming
cats.
more of it.
Chickens
Well,
can be.
Free range
Chickens can
chickens.
be,
Free reign, yeah, they're starting to
and
get.
Fly over the
there's-
fence into the neighbors.
there are solutions
For the
for
one
that.
out
So
on the
where's
road.
the
Stray
thing there
dogs
that
will
says that
And
we'll
then I
go
just say,
ahead
yep, great dinner.
and authorize the use of 22 rifles whenever the chicken happens to wander outside the.
Dinner tonight.
I love it.
Whenever he crosses the.
Yeah, yeah, from 4 to
Okay,
6, chickens
So
are
you
fair game.
want quail down to 2.5,
Basically,
chucker to 2.5, I've just written this down, rabbits to 2, if you say that's.
I think you're gonna be fine there, I really do.
Ducks, 5, pigeons are 1, right?
No, a half and half.
Half.
A half.
Yes.
No.
Because that's the area where we're taking the most from.
Is pigeons?
Yes,
And,
because right now you
How
can
many
have
people
50.
pigeons?
I can have 100 pigeons in my house.
I mean,
I
that's,
can think of 5 off the top of my head.
and you're one of them, aren't you?
No, not including me.
Like Nelson, that would give me 100 pigeons in my house.
It could, but you're not going to. I can guarantee it.
But are you?
Yeah, but you're gonna have some crazy pigeon lady who's gonna do it. Do you
Well-
want them next to you?
I think.
You know what?
I mean,
getting a little too
seriously.
generous
Are
with the
you saying you're
pigeons.
gonna be the crazy pigeon lady later on?
No.
I-
It's gross.
Seriously, you're gonna have something. I mean,
And then
people
we
are-
address it in the nuisance code.
If you have 100 pigeons,
If
back off.
they've got 100 pigeons and they're not taking care of them, you'll know it and we can address it.
Oh, I
through the
take care of
nuisance
them.
code. Well, then what is the issue?
So
Or you're not
they
intruding
just-
on my private rights?
They
Okay,
just
what
fly
did Jared
over,
think
they
about you
poop on
dropping
your
the pigeons to
property,
that? That's what
they're
I wanna know.
noisy,
They don't poop when they fly, they only poop when they take off.
And they land on your fence and poop all over.
No.
That's
And
a
your
lot of
car,
pigeons
they
you
poop
got.
all over your car. And they.
How many do I have right now? I have 20.
And I don't
Why do
even
you
know
need
that you
100?
have pigeons.
Huh?
I don't even know that you have pigeons.
Yeah.
They're home.
I don't hear
Are they
them.
homing pigeons?
Yeah, but I don't let them out because there's too many hawks.
Oh.
Because I let them out 2 years ago. I was getting ready and I thought this would be awesome. Let them out and that day I lost 10.
So a little feast for the hawks.
Oh yeah,
okay.
the best part was watching one rip one apart right there as I was eating my lunch
No,
in my backyard.
don't traumatize me with that.
So, you know, the wildlife will do what it
There's one,
is. So,
I think there's one issue that we may need to address, and that is falconry.
What?
Falcons
Yeah.
not in here, people raise falcons.
That's
Yeah.
not on.
it's not even
They raise
addressed.
them?
But that's because,
Yeah.
before when we talked about it, because you're licensed by the state of Utah,
I was gonna say,
they are the
don't you
ones that
have to?
control
They do.
the husbandry related to that.
That's
And he's
correct.
grandfathered in.
Well,
Do we need to?
Just,
I don't have a problem with falconry.
Yeah.
I don't
Because
either,
you-
but right, we had a neighbor that had a fox too,
What?
right? I mean, but that's, you have to get licensed from the state for that too, right?
you
I mean,
do?
so, like, are these issues okay? I mean, we probably need to address it in the code somewhere,
I would recommend we do.
because if we don't have it in the code,
You
even
look
if
at
they
some
have
of
a
these-
license from the
You look at
state,
some of these and they spend thousands of dollars on their animals and they're the most responsible animal
I
owners
think
there are.
if the state, we could put something
know?
about how if the animal must be licensed through the state as long as they're meeting those requirements.
So snakes and
Are those
you know,
licensed through the state?
some special.
Yeah, you want to
reptiles
reptiles?
and, you can get licenses for a lot of these things.
Chimpanzees.
But
Turtles,
Alligators.
But turtles are not licensed.
turtles are.
no, yeah, well, desert tortoise, yeah. I'd have one if I had a fence,
This is crazy.
but I don't have the turtle
It's a
fence.
zoo up here, no.
You have no idea.
Okay, so besides this issue that we're talking about, my other issue is with indoor pets not counting, because if they're listed here, I think that